Good morning. It's Wednesday, March 31st, 2021. I'm Pastor Thor Ramsey with Center Church. This is Gospel for Five, where we take 5 minutes out of our day and focus on the gospel because Jesus is the gospel. We're talking about this situation common in many marriages in this country where someone forsakes the spouse of their youth and pursues an adulterous relationship. Now, this is a relationship that is steeped in spiritual death. You cannot have an adulterous relationship and claim to be spiritual. You can claim to be spiritual, but your light is darkness. That's how the Bible would put it, to not mince words. None who go down to her come back, nor do they regain the paths of life. So there's an idea here. When you pursue this adulterous relationship, if you pursue an adulterous relationship, you don't come back from that. Your life doesn't resume as before. There's no picking up where you left off. Now, there are certain sins, right? I venture to say all sins, but certain sins you feel the consequences of, Certain sins you feel the consequences of in a much deeper way. Murder someone, you can't take that back ever. And those consequences, right? Don't leave that person and they won't leave you. And adultery is another one of those sins where you just do not commit an adulterous relationship and then pick up, you've done damage to it's not to say the marriage can't be restored. That's not what I'm saying, but it's not going to be the same as it was before because you've built, let's say you're married for 20 or 30 years, and then you have an adulterous affair that's ongoing. And then for whatever reason you want to come back to your spouse. Well, it's almost like you walked into your home with a sledgehammer and then just proceeded to destroy every room, every wall, every piece of furniture, throwing things everywhere. That's the kind of damage. And, in one sense, you have to gut that house and restore it. So that's the point they're making here. None who go to her come back, nor do they regain the paths of life. So there's no such thing as a casual adulterous affair. Anyone who thinks that is a fool. That's the whole point of Proverbs. Walk in those ways, no matter how wise and intelligent you feel, you are a fool. Now, many of us know fools. Some of us have former relatives or former in-laws who've turned out to be fools, right? Left their marriages, and now they walk in the paths of death. I would venture to say you're probably walking in the path of death before you venture into an adulterous affair. But Verse 20, so you will walk in the way of the good and keep to the paths of the righteous, for the upright will inhabit the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. Now, it's interesting that this whole idea of integrity comes up here because, again, an adulterous affair is a total loss of integrity. A person who has an adulterous affair, you can say, has lost their complete sense of honesty and integrity because you have to lead a duplicitous life. You have to lead a double life. You have to be a hypocrite. You have to be a liar. You have to be very selfish. Look at all these things, all the damage it does. That's what you have to do to engage in an adulterous affair. Say however bad your marriage is and whatever complaints you can make about your spouse and them not fulfilling you in certain ways, blah, blah, blah. Not enough, because you still, to engage in that adulterous affair, number one, you have to listen to the lies. You have to listen to smooth talk, and then you have to forsake the companion of your youth. Why? So you can have pleasure. So there's selfishness involved. You forsake God. Deep selfishness is involved. You sink down to death. You have to lie. You cheat. You're stealing someone's life away. The life of the spouse that's faithful, you're stealing the rest of their life away. You're stealing, you're killing, you're destroying. You are walking in the way. That's Satan's MO. You're walking in the way of the powers of darkness.